keep questions for the end of the session. That helps more, friends. Is that okay for all of you? So just an FYI, so that okay. Okay, let's continue. I'm just only checking on Jupyter Notebook. Usually, I directly use work with PyCharm. Yeah, this should be fine. I think we are ready with that. Yesterday, I think someone asked me on this just to help them to start Jupyter, just working. Okay, so I think we are ready here to create something. So fine. Now I think you can see my screen, right? So we'll discuss this today. If I think Narendra asked me yesterday how to start Jupyter on that we'll see today at the end of our session. So we had discussed multiple if yesterday. We just I think this is the program we did yesterday, multiple if. So there were quite a good questions. I really appreciate for the questions. But only thing is, let's keep those questions for end of session so that we can concentrate on the topic. Okay. So now multiple if is done. Maybe if you have time, what I request is work on these problems, even or not. Leap year or not, greatest of three numbers, all this you can try. Maybe I'll try to just work with one more problem now. Greatest of three numbers using multiple if. Then I'll do with the nested if. And then we jump to the if else. Today we'll try to complete decision making and jump to loops. So what do we do right now? So we take one more program. So this is greatest of three. Okay. So now you can close this. So to find greatest of three numbers, what is that we need to do, friends? We need to declare three variables. So generally a equal to 10. You can take ABC for now, but while working, generally based on requirement, you name variables, friends. Don't just directly use ABC, something like that, or IJ, something like that. But here, okay, for learning purpose, we are fine. So b equals to 5. If you want, you can input these values from keyboard. This is a learning thing. Input of int of input of this one. B, again, same thing, we can copy and paste. That should be fine. And then C equal to like this. This should be fine. If you want, you can add description. Else, just make sure that you are aware of this. When you run program, make sure you provide three inputs from the command prompt. That is very important. If you don't use description with input methods. Okay, fine. So friends, next one. Now I'm applying. This is all, what is that? Reading variables or inputting variables. So this is step one. Step two, finding, applying validation for greatest of three numbers. So what is that validate? It is a simple program, friends. So what is that? We need to compare A with B and A with C. So this is important. So we should compare one variable with the remaining two variables. So that is important to check that some A is bigger. Similarly, we have to create two more blocks if it is multiple if. Okay. Then we can say print and we can use this regular expression thing. A Okay, you can choose the sprint. A is bigger than, okay, B. Excuse me, friends. And you can, yes, friends. A is bigger than B. There is a, what happened to this? Just a minute. What is, everything is fine here.
Square braces.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Here, this is flower bracer issue. That is the issue. Fine. Now, create two more blocks, friends. One block here, one block here. Similarly, B greater than A and B greater than C. And similarly, we have to create three blocks, C greater than A. If it is elif ladder, of course, we can simplify much more there. We can optimize the execution flow, but it's okay. C greater than B. So this is just change the values. Here, we should add one more. B, A is bigger than B and C. So this is something which we should add. Similarly, B is bigger than A and C. Similarly, C is bigger than, just adding, just update here. C is bigger than A and B. So this looks good, friends. This is how we should validate multiple conditions for greatest of three numbers. And we need three different blocks to check for each, if A is bigger or not, B is bigger or not, C is bigger or not. If we have greatest of four, we need four if blocks. So that's it. That's how we should create this validations, friends. Now run this now and try to input three values, something like 10, some 5 and 3. So 10 is bigger than 5 and 3. This is working well. Maybe if you want, you can try one more test case. So you can give some 10 and then 20 and then 30. 30 is bigger than 20 and 10 and 20. So this is perfectly working, no issues. So that's all about greatest of three numbers here. So, and this is about multiple if. So we can, now you can start using this wherever you want in your code. So now let's move to the next topic after multiple if. So we need another one. What is that? Nested if. The next topic goes here is a nested if. If it is not here, I'll just give you the syntax. We start working on that. Okay, we can directly push to these are all something which I solved in the hacker rank, but we don't need that. What you can do is you can start solving them in the hacker rank as well. Practice there, and if any issues or any doubts, we can start discussing. So next, it's okay. So let's go ahead, go from here. We don't need to waste time. So next topic is nested if. Nested if means if within if. This it's a simple one. So that is nested if. So the syntax is simple as the if syntax is almost same with small change. That's all. If some condition one, okay, colon, and then again inside this another if block. So condition two, again inside this one more if block, condition three. This keeps going, friends. So you can add some statements as well. Some statements inside if here. Of course, if you think you need statements, you can also add statements inside inner if blocks or even this if block. In any if block, you can add statements. It's up to you. But the ultimate goal is we should have something in the innermost block. That is important, friends. But still, we can have statements in under block two, block one, anywhere. That is always allowed, but with a proper indentation. That is important. So this is nested if within if. Only execution flow here is here. If condition one is true, then only you come into condition two. If condition two is true, then you enter into condition. You go to condition three. So this chain breaks if any one condition is false in the hierarchy. This is important. You got it right, friends? So just keep this in mind. So that's all about this nested if and the execution flow. Now let's do one thing. Let's
Yeah,
let's
and one here a small question. Okay, how to run this program
which
here in
program? Hmm?
you write if condition, right? That
Yeah,
terminal.
I'm
Uh,
showing that
yeah, we wrote the some code. I wrote some code. I am not able to run it.
we ran this, right? I have shown you. Right click here and then just say run greatest of three. Okay.
Okay.
Just yeah, if we have problem, we'll check. Can we keep it for end of this session? I'll stay back, no problem. You can just wait for a few minutes. We'll see if you have issue. So to run this program, two ways are there. One is right click on the program, and you can see here run that program. Else, one thing is what is that you have a run button directly here. See, you got it, and then choose whichever file you want to run here. For me, greatest of three, I choose that, and then I can run from here as well. And provide inputs from keyboard here, something like 10 and 5 and 3. You have output here, right? Did you get it? Is it Hari? Yeah.
Any
So I'm sharing this code snippet as well with you. Let me share that here. Okay. So next then push. Yeah, you have that for reference in case you can test it that as well. Okay, next after that, nested if, and in this I need to discuss a small use case or a small project for this. So what is the project? Again, greatest of three numbers with nested if, with the nested if. How do you do that? How many blocks you need now? Even here we need three blocks, but three nested if blocks. How do you rewrite that? The same logic what we have created, this one with nested if. This is multiple if, right? Same thing we should write our code with nested if, friends. Okay. So now what do you do right now? Right click and then new and then Python file and greatest. You can otherwise directly say nested if greatest of three something. Okay. Now same as usual, declare three variables. So you just take a equal to int of input. Similarly, you can have two more variables. If you want, you can take greatest of three as well. If not two, take three. Not a problem. Okay. So input this. Now validation. So how do you do the validation? Simple, friends. If here, if it is, see here, multiple if you try to concatenate conditions with and operation. This and even we call this as short circuit operators. We'll just have a quick execution flow check after completing these things that might be useful for you for any certification or any other exams that helps you. Fine. Now Instead of applying concatenating conditions with this and or operations here, if it is nested if, we can break down, that here. You can see, I can say A greater than B, okay, colon. Inside this, I can add one more. I can break down the condition instead of using any AND operation here, A greater than C. So this is how I can create. I can rewrite same block, whatever block we have here, same if block with what is this logical operators, whichever we implemented with logical operators, same block we can rewrite this way, friends. Both are valid. We don't have any issue with the output there. Okay, so I'm just copying that and then adding same print here with the same print strategy here. Similarly, what is that you should do? Copy this and then okay, paste here B greater than A and B greater than C. Okay, and then just change the values here instead of saying B. Just make a small change here, friends. A and B here. That's all. Similarly, one more block to do a proper validation. So one more block for checking if C is bigger, C greater than A, and
Here C, B is greater than A and C.
correct, right? No, this is nested if, right? This is as nested if. So we are rewriting that with the nested approach. If it is multiple if, we can create it like this. Hari, right?
Yeah,
So
so I'm telling you about the printf in the second line, second condition. B is
oh
greater than
yeah,
A and C.
thank you. Yeah. Now here C is bigger than A and B. So that's all, friends. This is how we should rewrite our program with nested if, same validations, greatest of three numbers. So we just took two nested blocks here. You can see here two nested ifs to check for A greater than B and A greater than C. This is how we should create a validation if we are using nested if blocks here. So that's all, friends. Now run this program. I think you don't have any issue with the output. You see the same thing almost. So some 20, 30, and 10. Okay, here B is bigger. So 30 is bigger than 20 and 10. Something like this we should get. So this is perfectly working as expected. So we are good with this. What is this, friends? Nested if here. So this is how we should validate our code and test it. Okay. So I'll just share this. And to run this, right click on this, run it, and then just give the input some 1, 2, 3. See, you can see the output here. Or you can use the run button here. Anything should be fine. If you want to check the execution flow, you can just put a debugger. So I am also showing you because this is also important while working in programming, while working, I am doing development. Put a debugger. So now suppose I want to check the execution flow, right? If I should check the execution flow, so wherever we want to, from whichever the point you want to start checking values, put a debugger point there at the, you can see here at the leftmost place here, you can see, put a, just click there. It creates a debug breakpoint, what we call this as. Once this is created, right click and then see here, don't run and choose this one, debug nested if of something. Now you can see the execution started. So still it's need to pick it up. Now debugger started, you can see here, connected to PyDev debugger. Now what is that I should do? I'm doing a dynamic input. So I should pass three values here. So something like 10, 20, and 30. I am intentionally providing last value as the bigger one just to show you the execution flow. Okay. So now once I provide input, you can see here, right? It try to assign those values to these variables A, B, C here. Okay. So now the execution started with from which wherever I put this breakpoint. Now you can see it's pointing here. Definitely 10 greater than 20 is false. So what you can do, these are all debugging steps here. You can see here debugging options. This one is going step by step. And this is required only when you have some function call. If you want to get into that function, you should say step into so that from that caller it will jump into function. So this one again it is a similar kind of thing, but these two are important for you. And if you want to step out, just do that. That's all. So this is a step over going line by line. This is step into going into a function. Even this is step into similar to previous one itself. This is if you just want to come out of debugging, then you can check, you can click on this. Now I want to go line by line. So what is that I should do here? I can just click on step over. Okay, this condition is false, right? First condition itself is false. That why the validation is failed here. It jumped from here to the next block. Here every block is validated. Only we get output from the block whichever all conditions are wherever all conditions are satisfied. Okay, friends. So that is why. So this is definitely false. So it jumped from first block to second block. B greater than A. 20 greater than 30. In the first case itself, in the first condition itself, the this is false. Then again, it jumps directly to the third block. See here when I say step over. So B greater than, sorry, B greater 20 greater than 10. Yeah. Now B greater than C. 20 greater than 30. The second scenario is 20 greater than 30. Then it jumps from second block to directly to the third block. It won't execute anything. This is false state condition here. So sorry, I misread these two values. So in B greater than A, it is comparing 20 with the 10. Definitely that is true. That's why the control entered into the inner block. But anyhow, this is false now. So when I say step over, you can see it directly jumped from second if statement to the third block. And because this is false here, so the control never enter into the this if block because the condition is false. Never in sense, here this is false. That is why it won't enter into this block. If it is true, definitely it will enter into this. Right? Never in sense, it's not like that is always, it does the same always. Only if condition is false, it won't enter into that particular if block. Now coming to the third block, C greater than A. What is C? 30. A, what is A? 10. Definitely 30 is greater than 10. It is true. When I say step over, it gets into the inner block. Then C greater than B. Now we can put a, here always when you execute, it's, what is that it do, friends? C greater than A means if condition is true or false, it always return a Boolean value. In this case, it returns what? True here, okay, internally. Then it is jumping to the inner block. Now again C greater than B. What is C? 30. And what is B? 20. 30 greater than 20 is true, right? Then when I say step over, it enters into the inner block here. See. Finally, this is where actually the all conditions are true so that we are able to go down till this print statement. So that is the idea here, friends. So finally, you can say step over again, and then you can see the output here. So this is how, what is that? You can add breakpoints and you can do the debugging and check line by line and see how the execution is happening. Sorry, friends. But in real time, when we do debugging, when you are developing code, when debugging is exactly needed, means We go for debugging when you don't get expected outputs. Here, I'm only doing to show you, right, how to add breakpoints, how to debug a Python program in PyCharm. But if it is development, we don't just do debugging just like that. But generally, debugging is needed when you are not getting expected output, expected results. So that debugging helps us to see where this flow is breaking. Somewhere these values are not coming as expected. To check why values are not coming. Second thing, where this flow is getting break. Okay, where it is breaking. So to see all this, debugging helps a lot because I keep doing that in our particular IDs what we use. So in our customized IDs, this debugging is a must thing because to provide proper this thing in your program. Got it right, friends? This is the idea about debugging as well. So this is about all about if statement, simple if, multiple if, and nested if. Got it right? Any questions? No problem. We'll take it up end of the session. If you have doubts or if you have any problem also, we will stay back and we'll take it up. Okay, fine. I'm sharing this code snippet with you just there. I recommend you also test the code and keep doing practice along with me, friends. Okay, so that's about if thing. Now, if else. The next thing is if else. Sorry. If else is extension to if, not substitute to if. We don't replace if else with if, but this is an extension. That's all, not a substitute. And the execution flow is almost same for even if else. Only thing is we add just else part here. So here, what is the execution flow? Let me give the syntax first. If condition colon statements and then else colon statements. Okay. So this is syntax of if else. The execution flow, if condition is true, if block gets executed. If condition is false, it jumps to else block and statements under else block is executed. Most of you know this, I'm sure. Just a quick check, that's all. So you do one thing, rewrite same programs which I shared you yesterday. So with whatever this one we did. So let me share you these things. Same programs. Here you have all this right. Rewrite these programs with, I'm just adding in the chat box. So I think you can see that the programs are in chat box. Try to apply, test your code with even or odd or not, even or odd with if else, all that. I'll do one thing. I'll test even or not with if else. So we know what is if else now. We just had a syntax of if else. Let me just let's do a quick program on that. So now I'm creating one more program, new. Here, if else test. Okay. How many, if I am finding even or not. So this program is validating even or not, even or odd otherwise. Okay, this is my program. How many variables are needed here? Here we just need one variable. So input underscore var equal to. So just one is enough, friends. So what I can do, I can read this from keyboard, or you can directly initialize spreads. It's up to you. Input method here. So you can see this dynamically reads a value from keyboard and converts it to integer and assigns to this variable. Now validate it with if else. You know the syntax of if else, right? So if this variable percentile 2, if it is divisible by, sorry, I think. So let's start it, add a bracket here as well, okay, no problem. If input where percentile 2 equal to 0. Okay, if it is divisible by 2, then that is even number. So print it, just say print. If you want, you can use same if. So input, you can just pass that variable. What is that variable? Input where is even. So that's all friends. Else, so just add else block and then copy the same print here. Then what? It is odd number. So just mention the same here. Else, this is odd here. So that's all friends. So you can see here, we tried to read some value from keyboard and we did a validation here. If it is even or odd, put a debugger, run this code. Now try to provide input from keyboard, something like 10, test case 1. So what is test case 1 here? Giving even number directly. So now when I start debugging, press enter here. Debugging started. 10 is divisible by 2, right? So then what it is? Definitely an even number. So when I say step over, see, the condition is true. That's why control entered into this if block. If condition is true, this if gets executed and it will skip the execution of else here. If condition is true, if block gets executed, else is not executed. If condition is false, else block is executed. If is not, if is skipped from execution. That is the execution preference. So we are done with that. It entered into the block and then again step over. You can see it printed that output and finally skipped and finally it terminated the program because we don't have any other statements after this if block or if else block. So the execution of program is completed. Similarly, you can run one more time and for test case 2, what is that? Give an odd number and test your program. Give some 11, any odd number, it's up to you. I gave 11. This is test case 2. I'm giving 11 here, see, enter. Debugging started. The condition here is false. Then when condition is false, if block is kept from execution and control jump to else block. Now see here. I'm saying again execute next line, step over. See, control directly jumped from if block to else block, executed this, executing it. It is still at print. When I say step over, you can see here 11 is odd. So perfect. Because these are two test cases which we need to validate if it is even or odd. So finally, this is how to debug your code using this debugging options. Okay, that's all friends. This is about if else checking if number is even or odd here friends. Okay, I'm sharing this code with you. So let me share the.
Can you also write a few more conditions to check the prime number as well within if else condition?
Prime will come to that when we start working with the loop scenario. Okay.
Okay, fine. Okay.
So definitely we have a that task in the pipeline. So we'll definitely cover it. I'm not able to see the names. So Yeah, we are covering that, no doubt.
Thank you.
So we have almost all coverage of most of those core logics. So maybe I'll show you just for so what is that sum of first n numbers or printing some n even numbers or n odd numbers and then finding factors. All that there are so many projects at to leverage this logic that we are going to definitely discuss, and definitely that logic building is also taken care in these sessions. So one or two sessions completely we dedicate ourselves to how to start building logic from the scratch and how to slowly improvise that building approach. So we have a coverage of prime number, Armstrong, palindrome, all that core logics. Even to some level, we will also do a bit of patterns, all that, just in one or two sessions, only to benefit you to build logics so that it helps you to think and how to apply, how to play with loops, all different things. Yeah, we have a coverage band. So this is about even or odd. So next thing, so we are done with the if else. So what we can do now, let's go with the nest elif ladder. What is it? We'll go with the elif ladder. So somewhere I put this. Okay, we see here. Next one, elif. So this is like else if ladder in C, C++ and Java. In Python, they call this as elif, friends. So we put elif and syntax is almost same as if one. Again, everything follows with the if condition colon statements and then elif. Instead of else if, we use elif here. Again, condition 2 colon. Even if you want, you can add nested conditions as well. It's not like we should just choose one condition. Just for syntax purpose, we are adding like this. But in reality, if needed, we can add multiple conditions in with if or if with elif or anywhere. How many conditions you need for that problem solving, you can add that many here. Okay. So elif again statements. Just add some statements. Okay, and then similarly elif. So this keeps going, friends. You can add how many elif blocks you want, and finally at the end you can add else. This is optional. It's not mandatory, but if in case if you need that, you can add it. So that's all. And statements again under else block. So this is elif, friends. So what is the execution flow? So this is much more optimized form of multiple if. If it is multiple if, so one definitely we use it wherever we need it. If we need to check multiples, if every condition should be validated, then multiple if is best fit, because there are that certain situations where we need to check each and every condition, right? So that is where multiple if comes into the picture. And elif is we use elif when there is a connection between one condition to another. For example, you are finding the greatest of the numbers. See here, friends. Sorry, greatest of 3 or 4 or 5 or any numbers. In this kind of cases, this elif ladder is best fit more than multiple if. Why? In multiple if, what you are doing, you are trying to check. Let me open code and show you. This is multiple if. Even though A is greater, even though this first condition itself is satisfied, this is completely satisfied, and we found that A is bigger. Still, your interpreter checks this condition, and it checks this block and this block as well. Sorry, this block. So means what we are doing unnecessary checks here. Even though we found out that A is bigger in the first instance itself. So means we are this is a kind of we are losing on a bit of performance here. So to avoid this performance, this thing, what we can do, we can choose this elif. Not all times. There are certain times where you need to check each condition that is needed. But in this kind of connected logics, connected checks, condition checks, multiple if can be avoided. We can choose elif ladder. Right? What is the execution flow of elif? If condition one is true, or this first condition if the if block itself is okay, true, then it just executes statements under if block and skips the rest of the this construct. It skips all other elif blocks. Why? Because in the first instance itself, this condition is true and we got output. If this is true, condition one is true, execute statements and skip the next rest of the blocks. When we go to elif block, only if condition one is false, then we go to condition two. Okay. A small correction for typo. Okay. When we go to again another elif, when condition 2 is false, then we go to condition 3. When we go to next elif block, when this is false, then we go to next elif. Likewise, there is a chain of checks that is happening here. And we move next level only when we are false, or when the condition is not satisfied at the top level. So this is the execution flow. If all this whole construct is false, finally it will execute else block. So this is the execution flow. And this is much more optimized comparative to multiple if. So what is that we do? Let's do a quick check in the program. So here, you can take greatest of 4 or greatest of 5. It's up to you, friends. Okay. So now, Python 5, elif underscore test. Then here, the program is greatest of 3 numbers. Just to save some time, what I'm doing, just copying these inputs from here, from our previous program, adding here. And you know very well what this does. Input values from keyboard and converts each value, whatever we read from keyboard, into integers. And why we are doing that? By default, whatever we read from keyboard in Python is a string using this input method, this method. Okay, so do the validation now with elif if a greater than b and a greater than c. Sorry, friends. Print again. You can start your regular, as usual, the same regular expressions. You can say a is bigger than b, and you can add 2 more placeholders, b and c. That's all, friends. Next one, you can choose elif. And here the advantage is, again, you don't need to compare what is that a with b. Already we are comparing here. We can just skip that and you can directly say b greater than c here, friends. If you want, you can add that b greater than a and b greater than c. But that validation is already happening at the top level. You can skip that and you can choose whichever is needed here. You can see here. This validation is not done. So we are doing it, that we are applying that filter in the second level. So B, this is for checking if B is bigger or not. This second block, whatever we are adding here in the elif. then what you can do, copy this, paste it here, and then so B is bigger than A and C. Perfect. And finally, we just have one more remaining, one more check. So you can just use else for that. You don't need to again apply elif there. Even if you add elif, nothing happens. Okay. If you even use one more elif, so we don't have a problem. But anyhow, that is not needed because we know if if this first block is false and second block is false, then automatically, oh, definitely C is bigger because first block checks for A, second block checks for B, and in these two cases, if these two cases fails, then automatically the third, that is C, must be bigger. So we can directly choose else in that case, so that if the upper two blocks are false, the if block and the elif block, if these two are false, definitely it comes to the last. By default, it comes to the else. So you can directly say C is bigger than A and B, friends. Clear, right? So this is the idea. So this is how you can validate code with elif ladder. Anyhow, we keep doing so many programs. Continuously, we keep doing programs from here onwards. Okay, so this is how you can find greatest of three numbers, of course, with elif ladder, friends. You got it right. So I'm copying this, I'm sharing it. I didn't run this. Let me run it first. So it is expecting three inputs here. And this time, suppose I give 10, 5, 3. How many checks happens here? How many checks happens here, friends? Does it perform three checks or just one check? Like in multiple if, suppose you have multiple if here, this one. Here, definitely it does three checks. First with the first if block and second if block and third if block. It performs validation on each if block. But here, how many checks are done? Just it does a check for first if block. And if this is true, see, I gave 10, 5, 3. And this is best, if you can see here. It gives you a best performance in this scenario. Why? It doesn't check for next two blocks. Now when I run this, see here, friends. Sorry, I think I ran this 10, 5, and 3. Enter. You can see 10 is bigger than 5 and 3. Put a debugger and just have a quick look here, friends. Right click, debug this, and just enter 10 and then 5 and 3. Now you see here in this scenario, it just checks this first if block and this condition is true, then prints that A and skips from there directly. It doesn't go for second elif or else blocks. So see here, you can say step over here. It entered into the if block. By looking at the output, we know both conditions. Sorry, by looking at the debug, we can see both conditions are true. Okay, so then it enters into the if block and executes print and finally skips from there. See, it never tried to enter elif or else. When it goes to elif, suppose you see, let me rerun again. When it goes to elif, I gave 5 and then 10 and then 3. Now here B is bigger. Let's see. In the first case, see here, A greater than B. One more quick tip for you, one quick info. This might be useful. While doing these validations, let me show you this. This is useful for you, friends. I'm using terminal, not terminal, console. Let me just show you this. It would be helpful for you. So A greater than B, right? So enter. Okay, let me give some values here. Yeah, let me give quick values just to show you this execution flow. Yeah, I'm hearing fine that sweet voices of cute. I mean the kids. Fine. So just I'm giving same values here just to show you this execution flow because Shiva sir wants that validation so that all of you will be having much more deeper understanding of this kind of checks. I have a question for you friends. So I am running this right here. So if I am running this, what is the input I gave in the console? You can see here 5, 10, and 3. 5 greater than 10. Is it true or false, friends? We can do one thing. Instead of reading it, I mean, providing input here, see, 5 greater than 10. Is it true or false? And one more is, what is that here? This is A greater than B. Second one is A greater than C. So 5 greater than 3. Let's add that here. 5 greater than 3. So these are our inputs. So here in the first case, what happens? When I say 5 greater than, otherwise we do one thing. See. So what happens here? Is this true or false? Let's do the validation here. Let's check the execution flow. This acts as a short circuit operator and are here, friends. Okay. So now what would be the output here? 5 greater than 10 definitely is false, right? False. And so again, what is this 5 greater than 3? True or false?
It's true.
False.
True.
Sorry.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, this
It's
is
true.
true. Yeah. So now 5 greater than 3 is true. But this is how internally it doesn't directly execute that condition. First, it substitutes this Boolean friends implicitly internally. And here in this case, the AND operation, how it works, if suppose you have so many and you have more conditions here, you have few more conditions, something like 10 greater, only just for analysis I am adding, just not to disturb the flow. Okay. Suppose I have 10 greater than 6 and 4 greater than some 11, something like this. You have too many conditions. And what is the execution flow it does? In the first instance itself, it is false and doesn't actually try to execute rest of the conditions or try to validate rest of the conditions in the if the first condition itself is false. Why? Of course, by looking at these conditions, we can substitute true or false here. Suppose this is false, okay, and then this is true. But point is, once this is false, your AND doesn't even try to check for subsequent conditions. Because for AND operation, if one false is there, the whole operation is false. Then it just skips from there because it is false. Do you get this, friends? This is the how AND behaves. Suppose I'll just take one more scenario. Do you get this? What I'm trying to tell to you, friends? We know we put true here and again 10 greater than 6. Again, we add one more true and 4 greater than 11. This is false. Okay, this is all fine, friends. So, but for validation, by looking at condition, we can substitute Boolean values here. But does and give even try to do this, try to substitute all booleans here? Does it do all this kind of checks? Means the simple tip here is in the first instance, if it gets false, then it just skips from there because one false is enough for AND operation for the whole operation to be false. So what it does here, in this case, the first condition itself is false, immediately it jumps to the next one. It won't again check for even this one. You got it right, friends. This is the execution flow. Suppose you have a scenario like this. A greater than B and A greater than C. Okay. And A greater than D, something like this. And suppose 10 greater than 5 and 10 greater than 6 and 10 greater than 4. Assume that. This is the condition check we do. Then first time it is true. Yeah. Then AND operation will go and check for second one. Second one is also true. Then AND operation go and check for third one. And all these are true. Then AND finally returns what, friends? It returns true. So this is how you have to check, you have to validate your conditions when you are doing some tests or exams or anything, friends, because there will be simple questions, but they're tricky like this. The best thing is this is the validation thing you should do, because these are a kind of short circuit operators. And what happens, sir? So they try to validate this, and the output from this two again is substituted with the remaining one, rest of the one. Again, output from this three, they might compare it with the next one. So it keeps on going like this. You got it right, friends. This is the idea. But in this case, what happens? It checks first condition, it is true. Again, then it goes to second condition. Again, it checks this, it is true. Okay. Validates this and this. So first two are true, and true is what for AND operation true. Then it comes to the finally first two is true. True, and again what it does. So output from these two operations again is this one. And that again is that subsequent result is again validated with third one. It goes like this. Finally, what this is true. And this keeps going like this, friends. So this is how the internal checks happens, and the booleans are substituted and validations keep going on in this conditional statements, friends. You got it right. So this is a quick idea just for your deeper understanding of these checks. So finally, what I think we had just had a check. What is that here in the output? We tried to provide 5, 10, and 3. So now this is definitely false. In the first instance, while checking first condition, 5 greater than 10 itself, it's false, and then it stops there. So now you can see here when I say not stops there, sorry, friends. It skips from there and finally go to this elif block. See, you can see here. Why it has jumped directly to elif? Because in the first condition itself it is false. It won't even try to check for second condition, and doesn't need that. You got it right, friends. Next, it's go to the this one second block. Definitely B is bigger than both A and C. Then in that case, B greater than C. We are directly doing what is that? B greater than C. Yeah, that is true. So here you have B and this one. So now what do you do? Just run it. You can see this condition is true. So it has entered into the elif block, and this print get executed. And it skips else anyhow. When it comes to else, when the third C is bigger, then in that case, it skips the rest of the two blocks and comes to the else block. And this is the execution flow, friends. You got it right. I think you got a bit some introspection on the execution flow here. Okay. So this is what happens here. Understood now with AND operation. Similarly, R also, what's kind of that? But for R operation, suppose, because anyhow we got this discussion, how R works here. Suppose you are doing R operation. In place of this, you can see here. Let's take the first scenario here. How R behaves. I have for 5 greater than 10, or 5 greater than 3, or 10 greater than 6, or 4. Now what is the behavior of OR operation? First, in the first condition itself, condition is false. Do you think R try to
Yes,
check
it will check
second
all the
condition?
conditions. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. In case of R, it won't return back in the first case if it is false. R, the behavior of R is it should check this. Okay, true. Sorry, false. Okay, let's validate this and then close this session. R 5 greater than 3, true or false, friends?
True.
Okay, true. And then, okay, of course, false and true is what, friends? False or true is what?
True.
So again, this is added to the subsequent operation. True or again 10 greater
True.
than 6. What is it, friends?
True.
True.
Yeah. Again, this is what true or true is again what? True.
True.
Again, what? True or 4 greater than
False.
6. True or false,
False.
friends? And what is this here now? What is it, friends? Finally, true or
True.
false is
True.
anyhow for R. Actually, I believe for R, if one condition is true, that is enough for whole R. I believe R should skip from the rest of the case. You got it, my friends.
Yes.
So this is just a validation we need. But for R also, see, for R, how many, if one true is enough, right, to make the whole condition true for R, is that clear? So here you can see here. Now let me just show you. False or true. It is true. And this is enough for whole R operation to be true. We are done here. And R doesn't need to go and check on remaining two conditions as well. Why? So it has found that there is a true here. One true is enough for the whole R to be true. Is that clear? So again, as a part of what is that optimization internally, I doubt these two conditions are checked. Please validate. Please check on this again. You also try to debug this. See if remaining two conditions are checked. Check on this scenario. Please explore this and get a clear picture on this kind of checks how it's opening, till what level it is trying to validate conditions for or as well as for true. This is a heads up for you, friends. Is this clear? So this helps you definitely. This kind of validations helps you when you are dealing with large volumes of data. Because as data engineers, most of your data engineers, I believe, you need to do a lot of validations of data, if I'm not wrong. What do you say, Siva sir? Am I true? Am
Yes, sir.
I?
Yes, sir. Lot.
So this understanding is very important, and even Shiva sir wants that for all of you friends. Okay, so this is idea of this. I think somebody asked a question. Sorry, I asked you to at the end of the session because to make sure that to have that leverage with time. That's all, friends. Now you can come up with your questions. Are you good till all this, right? Good with your questions?
Yeah. Yesterday, hi, this is
Yeah.
Hari.
Yes, yes,
Yesterday
Hari.
I was trying to
Mm.
install that, but it did not work. So today also I checked it. I rebooted it a couple of times, but I'm able to see the same. So do you want me to share my screen and show you?
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, friends, this is all about decision making. We did complete that today. Okay, tomorrow we continue with what, friends? We continue with the loop control statement. Say,
And I have
sure.
opened this.
Okay.
So how should I'm trying to practice that what you said, like comparing to integers or something like that. But so can you please help me to write my first
So
program?
did you create that one there? You are not able to create project itself.
Yeah.
So choose that 3.12. That is fine. Just click on that custom environment. Please click on that custom environment. Mm, virtual ENV.